What's up, nerds? Welcome to Some State of Turing. If you forgot, I'm Jeff. And we get together, State of Turing, day one of each inning to kind of level set, recall a little bit of what we've been doing leading up till now, whether it was a previous mod, even mod zero, and maybe set some intention for the next couple of weeks. Now we got 6 uninterrupted weeks till the close of this inning. And also as an opportunity, whenever kind of like fits with what we're talking about for some, I think of it as like generational knowledge transfer for you old timer mod 4 folks or recent alums and so forth to share some insights and ideas, things that worked for you, things that maybe you would do differently if you were starting over, and help the folks who are newly joining us to acclimate and kind of get the best out of their time that they can. So that brings us to State of Turing. I will mention that today is going to have some breakout conversations. So, get your face together, whatever you got to do, get that camera fired up, get your microphone ready, so you can talk with some people. That'll be in a couple minutes. So yeah, officially, for the folks just getting started today, I want to say welcome to Mod 1, welcome to Turing. I hope the next 7+ months of your learning journey are pretty exhausting and awesome at the same time. For everybody who's kicking off Mod 2 or Mod 3 today, you are making great progress, building skills quickly. And if you choose to get to participate in something like Rock and Pebble or other efforts to get some of these new folks ramped up, then you will realize just how much you've learned. There is no better way to feel smart than to work with someone who's just getting started and you're like, wow, you know nothing. I have learned several things. I will dispense some of them onto you. And for Mod 4, you jump into these shared classes, back end and front end together. I hope having some new people, some new perspectives, and really some new like technical skill sets will help you build a better understanding of what your teams are going to look like when you're out there in the workforce. So today I wanted to start us off thinking about how we make cohorts work and how our collaboration helps to accelerate individual learning. There are a lot of different models of learning, even within just this kind of accelerated training or boot camp space. You can, some folks will like teach themselves. Some people will go with like a self-paced program. Some folks will do live programs that are still kind of self-paced. And, I think we're kind of at an extreme end where we're doing things together almost all the time and driving in this like cohort strategy. And I think in education uh, there are a lot of different ideas. Many of them must be good for somebody. And there are sometimes we will ask questions or even like struggle with a bit, like what if we should do it this other way? What if you should do it this other way? And what I come back to is like, we don't have to, we're not trying to build the perfect program for every person. We're trying to build the best program we can for the students who choose to engage in it. And so, hopefully all these things were known to you before you signed up and showed up here. And essentially this idea of kind of learning in a community space, learning with other people and so forth, and having a shared responsibility and kind of reliance on each other to accelerate your learning, that is what works for you or will work for you. It's worked for a lot of other people before you. And so today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about how we kind of build that like trust network and a degree of like shared success or interdependence over the journey. Back a couple weeks ago in our week 4 with Jeff time, I talked about this concept that we're bringing back So we're always iterating. Sometimes things get better, sometimes things get paused or left out along the way. And we decided to bring back this concept of the Student Leadership Committee, or SLC. For the cohorts who are now starting off mod 2, 3, and 4, each of you selected 2 SLC reps who will get into action this week. If you are those people, you'll be hearing from me later today. One of the, not the only thing of SLC, not the only feature of SLC, but one of the like anchoring structures that SLC allows for are these student-led weekly retrospectives. And we'll start those this Friday. Staff are going to participate and help with the ramp up, but in the future, it's ideally like a students only session. And I wanted to help you understand like how and why that exists and how it connects to what you should see in the workplace. Now, how, different, every software team is its own special little animal out there. So maybe some of these things would be like, I worked 5 years, I never did any of these things. Like, okay, that's fine. But many of the best teams are going to use structures that are similar to ones we've implemented here with you inside your Turing education. Retrospectives really came into software development with the advent of agile programming, which at its core, agile is an approach to software development that is more human centric than it is like machine or code centric. It's about like delivering value to customers, kind of valuing and supporting the people building the software, and that the software is essentially like almost a byproduct. Most often held in contrast with like waterfall software development, where it's really very like waterfall is very software centric, very requirement centric, and the people are kind of the ancillary part. It's all about this software kind of driving everything. So retrospectives came into vogue, if you will, with agile software, agile programming, agile software development, etc. Before agile thinking became popular or common, it was uh, generally, I'll say, programming looked a lot like the portrayals that you might have seen in like a 90s or 2000s movie, like nerds in their cubicle, typing on their screen. They're getting some requirements, probably in a written document, like a paper document or maybe an email, explaining what the software is going to take in, what it's going to put out, just everything the software has to do. And then you'd write the software to match those requirements. And then you'd hand that software off to your boss or whomever, and then you'd get rinse and repeat, do the next set of requirements. And it's a like decidedly unhuman system, or maybe even inhumane system. The programmer in that methodology is really just a translator who takes requirements and translates them into code. There isn't space for interpretation, insight, learning along the way, or any kind of creativity. But to be real, a big software company, a big technology company, regardless of what they might say, they don't really care too much about interpretation, insight, learning, or creativity. They're trying to build software that earns money. And so, as much as we might be tempted to think about agile software and human centrism as kind of like altruistic or moral, ethical choices, these ideas actually took hold and have grown over the years because they help make better software faster, and that brings in more money. Agile approaches are usually good for business. It's not necessarily, I wouldn't say globally, every business, every software team should be using agile methodologies. But it does seem that it's the best or a better fit for most of them than kind of waterfall or kind of classic methodologies. Across the last 10 years, we've had a lot of students at Turing, and they've written a lot of code. Some of it was really bad, some of it was okay. A lot has been produced. It's probably over 10,000 projects currently collecting dust on GitHub pages across the internet. As far as I know, none of them have ever earned any money. There was one that was very close, but then they pulled the plug. So 10,000 projects, no money whatsoever. It's not a great ratio. Despite all the dreams communicated in a demo comp or a portfolio review, these wonderful bullet lists of here's what we're going to build next. Usually it doesn't happen. And if it does, it doesn't turn into like the next great startup. And that's really okay. Because this is not an incubator. We're not here trying to build and launch startups. To be honest, I think it's like totally irresponsible for people new to the industry to then try and be like, I just got here. I will make a company. Like, yeah, you could really use a little bit more context. We'll talk another day about starting your own business, in which I will tell you to not to. That if there is a business you can tolerate working in and they'll tolerate having you, you can get paychecks and do work, build your network, build your expertise, all those kinds of things, then you should definitely do that. Especially when you're new to the field, as almost all of you are, maybe all of you. If you're not here building great money making projects, then what are we doing with all this time? The same agile working principles that lead to building better software faster also work for building better software developers faster. Where learning and skills are really the currency that we're earning and accumulating. It's not to say that waterfall or old school learning doesn't work at all. There are a lot of college degree programs out there proving that you can develop some kind of similar skill sets in about 4 to 6 times as long and significantly more expensive. So it exists, but you didn't choose that path. Instead, I believe there's a lot of wisdom in taking agile principles and applying them to our learning processes. One of the tricky things about agile is it's a very, at its core, like it is a very simple idea. And in the tech world, we always have consultants. There's consultants who come and write code. There's consultants who come and help you structure your team or maybe try and fix a team that's struggling, etc. And consultants, like all business practices, like all different business domains, software consultants, they tend to make money by building like a toolkit. And so it's like, oh, here's the Jeff Casimir way to do agile software development. And then they kind of push and sell that and so forth. And that's a little problematic when the ideas are so simple that you don't really need a toolkit. So then people make up toolkits anyway. And when it comes to agile, you will find lots of like writing and different terminology and be like, oh, it's not like that. It's like this. It's not like that. It's like this. And it's not that those things are like totally false, but just agile is not, it's just not that complicated. I was reading a thing earlier where somebody was like, I have a month to learn agile software development. Like, what should I do? And it was like, well, after the next hour, I don't know what you're going to do the rest of the month because like there's just not that much to it. It just takes practice. So I linked in, I started a thread in Broadcast where I posted a message about this session. And I'm going to also post um, our breakout room questions there. I put a link, these 12 principles behind the Agile Manifesto. And I'm actually going to pause for about 2.5 minutes and ask you to just take like a careful read through these 12 principles. And as you're reading, to ask yourself, like, if you had to, where could you like map some of those principles to the way you've seen and done things at Turing? All right, 2.5 minutes, go. In particular, I'd like to call your attention to numbers 11 and 12, which is really connecting to the things we're trying to talk about today. If you've built a project at Turing, whether as a pair or a group of four or more, you were almost certainly a self organizing team. Your instructor didn't say, like, okay, person A, you're the manager and your responsibilities are this. Person B, you're the database expert. Person C, you do security, whatever. Your collaborative spaces here are expected to self organize. That generally applies across the cohort too. We try to provide space and maybe a suggestion or an idea here and there, but generally the cohorts are like self-organizing bodies. Are there going to be social events, study halls, collaboration sessions, helplines, recipe swaps? Who knows? I've seen all kinds of things. Generally, a group works best when it figures these things out for themselves rather than having them imposed externally, right? When it feels like authentic to the group. And there's still a need for this principle 12, time for reflection. It says at regular intervals, the team reflects on how to become more effective, then tunes and adjusts its behavior accordingly. This always makes me think of like therapy, whether you do personal therapy, relationship counseling, you just talk to your mom and she gives good advice. I don't know what, if you have one of those, lucky. Um, all of us need time and space to really like meta analyze, like look at the system of how we're working, not just at the work itself. Teams need that within a software project. And I believe groups need that within a learning journey or a working journey. They need some dedicated time and space to maybe have an awkward conversation, to raise an idea about how things could be different, to celebrate some wins and appreciate some accomplishments along the way, and then use all of that to make plans for the immediate future. So, making that space is one of the reasons that we're bringing back SLC and cohort retros, because they promote ideas and processes used by great software teams. It's not because it's like kumbaya, hold hands time. It's because like these are the things that good software teams do. And you should practice them now so you're ready to do them in your job. I am going to send you out to some breakout rooms. It's going to be about 5 people or so in your room. I have a couple questions. We're going to take some time with this. I'm not in a big rush today. So I have posted these questions in that Slack thread. The copy and paste in Zoom is always a little bit shifty here. So all right, you're just it's not it's not terrible. I'm gonna send you out to these breakout rooms. I'm gonna give you, I think, about 12, 14 minutes kind of area. And so probably bring us back like around 9:34 or so. You're going to be shuffled up. If you're not a current student, if you're a staff member or alum, then still would love for you to like participate and adapt the questions as you see fit for yourself. How your group goes through the conversation, who goes first, who goes last, etc. I give you some ideas. You self-organize it. It used to be very dramatic, this moment, when I would make all these breakout rooms and click the blue button. Usually it works now. But if you are abandoned here, just left with me, then I will shoot you out. If you get a chance when you get in your room, if there's some place on your computer or on like a little scratch pad, if you write down your room number, that would be wise, because then sometimes people get booted out, disconnected or whatever. And when they rejoin, they're like, I don't know which room I was in. I'm like, I don't know which room you're in either. So I'll just randomly put you somewhere. But if you write down your number, I can put you back in the right place. All right. So I'm going to open these rooms, giving you the questions in the Zoom chat and in the Slack thread, and going to take it to, yeah, about 9:34, I think. Enjoy. Oh, hey, you're back. I was just here staring at myself. Hope you had a good first conversation. We are going to go back to those groups in just a couple minutes here. So hopefully you weren't like, I always think of Half Baked, where this dude quits his job and and, and he gets on the mic. Uh-oh. Hold on. I get it. Break move this over here. Okay, there we go. And Half Baked, he like quits his job. It's at like a taco shop or something, and he gets on the mic and he's like, fuck you, not you, you're cool, fuck you, I'm out. And so hopefully that wasn't the close of your breakout room, or else it's gonna be awkward. We can go back in there. Anyway, hope you had some good conversation. Getting back on subject here. This Friday, we will have an hour dedicated to cohort retro. The SLC reps will be collaborating this week to make and understand a plan for how to run that retro. For our new Mod 1 students, you're going to spend this week's session with your instructors who are going to help you retro the week and help you select some SLC reps who will jump in to be your folks for week 2. Then for mods 2, 3, and 4, we hope this Friday time can help your cohort like iterate just a little step forward in how you work and collaborate. The best retros are really ones that celebrate the accomplishments, highlight the challenges, evaluate what's coming next, and make a plan for success moving forward. The SLC reps and I will work on plans each week to help, but there's also a lot of opportunity for self-organizing and internal advocacy. Like essentially, it's supposed to be your time as a group to help the group work better. So as you try some things out, and figure out like what's working and what's not working for your individual group, then we want to go that direction. And it's not like every group has to have retro the exact same way, the exact same structures, exact same questions. We've seen now over 100 cohorts come through Turing. And I can tell you that highly collaborative groups build highly collaborative, high quality, effective software developers and great skills. It is never the case that like a collection of lone wolves finds like tremendous success. It is instead the cohorts that are like share the most connection or like bond or time or care and so forth with each other. Those are always the cohorts that like do the best academically and do the best, especially in the job hunt and then like in the career. Collaboration takes a lot more than just like being nice. In fact, just trying to always be nice tends to be detrimental to learning and collaboration. If your instructors, for instance, just always said all your things look great, it would be hard to get any better. Collaborative relationships, whether we are learning, loving, working, building, none of them get better when we just try to say everything's fine all the time. And at the same time, it doesn't work to just like criticize all the time or focus only on the things that are wrong or could potentially go wrong. And it's something I think a lot about in parenting. Frustratingly in life, it seems like the answer is always some kind of balance. It's never like this or that, this or that. It's always like a little bit of both in the right ratio. For most of us, critiques and the negatives, the things that went wrong, that one thing somebody said, they're just more sticky than celebrations and positives. So finding a balance, I don't think means like equal parts. If the critical just like sits heavier and the positives are easier to be like, oh yeah, oh, I didn't even do that. Oh, that was lucky. Oh, I don't even know where that came from. Da, da, da. But then the critical ones were like, yeah, it's because I'm a bad person and now everyone knows it. you know, 1-to-1, you're not going to find balance in there. Um, we probably have to spend like at least twice as much time and attention on highlighting the good things because they're more easily overlooked and let go of. So I think it's probably, I think balance tends to be somewhere around like a 2-to-1 ratio. Two in the plus, two in the win column for one in the critical column. I want to, yeah, exactly, the compliment sandwich. Thanks, Dylan. I'm going to send you back to your breakout rooms and you're going to awkwardly start giving no, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. That'd be weird. I have a couple more questions for you. I'm going to post them in the thread, Slack thread here in the Zoom. And I think this one will be just slightly shorter. So about 10 minutes since you already did intros. All right. I'm going to find my button here. Yep. I'm going to send you all, okay. I have sometimes people like come and go, move around a little bit. I have 1 or 2 rooms that are like kind of small. So if your room doesn't exist, I'm gonna, if you get a new person, just be cool, okay? Or if you are the new person, I just moved you around because like a couple of the rooms are a little off count. So don't like haze them or anything. All right, I'm gonna click delete on this one, and I'm gonna pull out this one. And okay, so I have a couple people that I'm gonna be reassigning. Here you go. Oh, hey. Here you go. Jordan, here you go. You're back. This week, as we get SLC rolling, I hope we can collaborate on this next iteration and figure out how to make it great. Maybe some of these ideas that you heard in your breakout rooms could surface again in your cohort, maybe in retro this Friday, maybe in some conversation over the next couple of weeks, to bring in some new ideas about how to self-organize and how to help the group work even better together and as individuals. In software and in education, there is unfortunately no one right way to do things. The landscape is always changing, the people are changing, the requirements are changing, technology is changing. In part, I think when you first start as a software developer, there's kind of like an obsession with right and wrong. It's like code works, code doesn't work. And it's like, yeah, maybe that's true for the most elementary of problems. But as you get to anything sufficiently complex, what you'll find is that it is all a collection of trade-offs. And so which trade-offs are like worth it in a given scenario with a given set of constraints, with the team you have, with the expertise you have, with the servers you have, in the same way, like collaboration doesn't come for free. And when we're say like rah, like everybody does better when we all do it together, like that doesn't mean it doesn't involve trade-offs. That doesn't mean it does involve trade-offs, right? It means like a degree of sacrifice, particularly usually sacrifice in the short term for some of the longer term benefit. And so as we continually like iterate those things in small spaces and in larger ones, it implies that doing exactly what worked a year ago or 5 years ago doesn't make sense. I hope that as you get into your work today, you get into collaborating with your cohort and your instructors, you'll find that we are all in the process of iterating if you get a chance, I'd love for you to ask your instructors about how they've iterated the plan and the content of your module this time around. Despite these mods being taught over 50 times each, there are still new ideas, new twists, sometimes old ideas that come back around. I I've joked before, although it's like it's true, that if you just looked at mod 4, like all the different things we've done in mod 4 over the years, dug them all out of the archive, you could make more than a whole program out of just different mod 4s over and over, which is either like a special kind of heaven or hell, depending how you look at it. And in those spaces, as you re-enter into like your little cohort community, or maybe you're in mod 1 just kind of getting it started, I'd like for you to think for yourself about how today is a fresh start. A little bit like New Year's resolutions, they don't work. It doesn't work to like change everything at once. But maybe today there's one little thing you can do differently, one little thing you used to do, maybe that you want to bring back from the early days, and just try and iterate a tiny step forward. Through all that effort, it's important to remember how the negative and critical things are so sticky. You don't have to let them be your whole story. Make sure you take time and energy and do what you can to hear, internalize, and even amplify the successes, because you're here to do hard things. Like, we're not just hanging out. If your time here was just one success after another, then you wouldn't be learning very much. So then each struggle is, in fact, like our chance to learn or try something new. I hope you have a great day, great starts to the module, and look for opportunities to solve hard problems together. That's it for today. And well, for me, I even ended early for once. So be on time for those 10 o'clock Mountain Time classes. Hope you have a good one. Talk to you soon.